You would break our treaty. You're a good guy. Why, you hate war. You wouldn't go back on your word.
Are you kidding?
George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey de Bouillon. The Bouillons were servants of Pope Gregory VII and led the European noblemen into the crusade in order to recapture Jerusalem from the Islamic faith. He became the first king of Jerusalem and Duke of Lower Lorraine, which was known as a major region for the bloodline linked to the Illuminati. Bush is closely related to every European monarch. He is the 13th cousin of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles. He also has kinship with every member of the British royal family, the House of Windsor. The House of Windsor is known for abandoning their German names after World War I due to criticism of the people. A lesser-known fact about the House of Windsor, however, is the heavy funding contribution to bring Adolf Hitler to power in the rise of World War II. The swastika is actually a symbol of the sun, referencing to the sun order of the occult. The word Nazi actually translates to Anunnaki, which is one of the 8 children of the mother goddess Ninharsag. And even the word Holocaust is actually Yiddish for burn sacrifice offering. Heinrich Himmler was the commander of the SS and one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. Himmler was a 7th Ray occultist and was very influenced by the book Astara by George Looms, who is an Austrian mystic. This occult book mapped out the plan for a cleansing of ethnicities and bringing about one race, and to revive the ancient tradition of the Knights Templar of the Middle Ages. The Knights Templar were a group largely killed off by the French monarchy. The remaining Templar created many Masonic orders and secret societies throughout Europe, from which the Illuminati is believed to have originated. It's important to note as well that the Bush family's ancestor, Godfrey de Bouillon, was a Holy Templar himself. To this day, every single United States president, with no exception, has a direct bloodline relation to British monarchs. And on December 20th, 1993, George Herbert Walker Bush was knighted by the Queen of England as a Knight Grand Cross with the most honorable Order of the Bath for his leadership in the Gulf War.
So important was Suharto as a business partner that the mass murderer was welcomed to London by the Queen.
Does it strike you as odd that our president, our leader, kneeled before the Queen of England in a ceremony that symbolizes allegiance? Does it strike you as odd that our president, our leader, kneeled before the Queen of England in a ceremony that symbolizes allegiance? So what does this all mean? It simply means that throughout every major civilization, political power has remained in a select few bloodlines, and it is desperately held in the same manner today. It is openly admitted to the public that major leaders worldwide are part of secret fraternal orders or secret meetings. But what is not disclosed to the public is the purpose of these meetings. So let me spell this out for you. The major leaders from around the world are part of a united effort to remain in power forever. To do so, paid by the people. So in turn, all property and assets will be repossessed by the debtor.
Debt has really been used as an instrument in order for the IMF and the World Bank to get their policies implemented in many developing countries. And we're into a situation now where the poorest countries are in a cycle, a vicious cycle of poverty. They can't get out. And the kind of debt cancellation that's been given still will not allow them to get out of those poverty traps. Not a question of debt forgiveness, because actually many of the debts were incurred under pressure from the international institutions or were given in collusion with governments which weren't acting in the interests of their people.
For those of you who are unaware what it means when a government owns everything of yours, it's called socialism. All of this is part of an ultimate goal of the mystery religions. The mystery religion is the paganism we've been talking about all along, but the pagan religions known to the public today are nowhere near as involved as the mystery religion. It is much less confusing than you think. Try to imagine this practice as less of a religion and more of an ambition. The ambition is to reach enlightenment. There is no superhuman intelligence or fantasy involved in this. The gifts of God are very simple. Omnipresence. The power of one being or consciousness to be everywhere at once. Omniscience. The power of knowing everything that can be known. And omnipotence. To have unlimited power. We see all of this today. It cannot be denied. If you still don't believe that the mystery religion is present today, just look around you. There are literally thousands of statues and emblems of ancient religions on every political establishment. Even on military uniforms, these symbols are found everywhere, but not only in our country. The same emblems are found on every nation's military uniform. And why would this be? Because a life taken at a chosen time, place, in a specific manner, it becomes a sacrifice. And to further illustrate this point, on March 20th, 2003, President Bush launched a bombing of Baghdad at 5:50 Baghdad time. This lasted into March 21st. It was called shock and awe by the mainstream media. But according to the mystery religion, this date is known as the Eve of Ostara, more commonly known as the spring or vernal equinox. Occultists worship the goddess of the earth, Gaia, on this day. The Druids knew this date as the spring fertility rite, the day of feast. The war was promptly ended on May 1st, 2003. This date is known in the Druidic calendar as Beltane, or Walpurgis Night. It was named after Saint Walpurga, who was the pagan goddess of fertility. From March 20th to May 1st, the pagan ritual is to give blood to the earth and renew life to the goddess of fertility. What better time frame to declare a bloody war on the days of a ritual sacrifice and end it exactly when the pagan ritual ends? The parallels are uncanny. These are all facts written in many different sources around the world and are available to anyone to discover. Connecting the dots is up to you, but make your own decisions instead of settling for conclusions that others have put in place before you.
The right answers are what you decide are the right answers. Maybe everything I'm telling you is wrong. I mean, I can tell you what I think happens to be more or less right, but there isn't any reason why you should pay any attention to it.
It's difficult to comprehend the relationship of every major political decision to a religious ritual practice unless you abandon everything you've been taught, everything you've been trained to think and trained to believe since the day of your birth. All of this starts making perfect sense when you abandon vanity, abandon materialism, abandon all the bullshit that separates human beings from what is natural. We were born naked creatures of the earth, to eat and drink of the earth, to live and die by the earth in natural time, time that exists only within us, not without us, because without us, there is no time and there is no earth. Abandon all intellect, abandon all formalities, abandon etiquette and courtesies, abandon language and words altogether. Nature doesn't require any of them. They are pointless distractions created by miserable people who cannot stand to see their own reflections. They hate themselves because somewhere along the line, they have denied what the universe provided for them. The natural body isn't good enough for them, so they alter it with surgery and makeup and clothing, and hours upon hours of unnatural, inorganic, rigid, and painful exercise at the gym to punish their natural body and replace it with a completely false representation of themselves so in-depth and so complex that it is nearly impossible to recognize what the earth gave to them in the first place. Disguised even further by titles and status and wealth and power and family names and everything imaginable to divert the attention away from nature and onto a false existence.